Well, my wife and I this year, we tried a new type of garden method. It's called a back to Eden garden method. And the premise of it is you essentially mulch your vegetable plants with materials that will decompose, like wood chips, leaves, paper, things like that. Things that don't have bad chemicals or anything like that in it. But we watched something about it, I think like last year or 2 years ago, and this guy had tried this method, or he had kind of, I don't think he developed it, but he brought it to light, and it really helped condition the soil. And what it does is it takes away the whole convection part of evaporation, and allows the soil to stay wetter longer, and you don't need as much water. Well, we have chickens in the back, and we don't use hay anymore or straw. We use wood chips because they're a little bit more cost effective and they're easier to store. And so we use the wood chips, and every probably like 2 months we take tractor back there and we scoop out the pine chips, and we put them in a bed that is not being used. And then we wait for the winter time and everything. Wait for a whole season. Let it decompose a little bit, and then at the beginning of the spring, we'll go ahead and flatten it all out, spread it out wherever it needs to go, and use it in the garden. And this year we had a few beds that had the pine mulch in it, and the pine mulch showed that underneath the soil, when my wife started digging down into the soil to start putting some plants in there, she was seeing that the soil was just really wet, like not soaked, not really soaked, but it was nice and wet, and it was perfect growing conditions for your plants. So then the next step is we knew that decomposing material takes a lot of nitrogen out of the soil, and we needed to make sure that these plants got a lot of nitrogen. Now our beans and our peas, it doesn't really matter for those because they replace the nitrogen back in the soil. But our tomatoes and peppers, and she has an herb bed, those all needed a good source of nitrogen. So every time we planted a plant, we put bone meal and everything in she actually had a homemade mixture. It was bone meal, blood meal, and something else that I can't remember she put in there. But needless to say, because I'm long-winded, but needless to say, this garden system is extremely well. The only thing that our garden has had to deal with this year are bugs. There were some bugs that had been eating our cucumbers and just devouring it, and we just didn't have enough time to deal with those bugs. So next year we'll be armed and ready to go. But anyways, this morning I went out there. It's 8:30 in the morning. This morning I went out there to go check the chickens and to go pull out a zucchini. And I knew this one zucchini was in there. It's a big old yellow zucchini, but I didn't know this other zucchini was in there, and I was caught off guard. Now, I'm going to show you the zucchini that I saw in the garden and looked huge. That's that one. Now, I don't really have too much for a size comparison. I do apologize, and I don't know where my tape measure is. The only thing I really can give you a size comparison with is most folks are familiar with the size of a dozen eggs. Now these, you can see they're extra large eggs, so you can kind of get an idea of how big they are. And that's how big that zucchini is there. Now to further show you, this is our scale zeroed out. weighs almost 2 pounds. Okay. Now, this next one that I'm going to show you, you're going to freak out. Now, this is not, these aren't the only two this size that we've gotten. We've gotten, I think, probably 6 or 7 that have been just about this size out of the garden, and it's that have been this size. This one, though, this is just a freak of nature. Look at that thing. It's huge. It is longer than my elbow to where my fingertips meet my palm. But it is bigger than this thing. It's huge. I'll probably be able to make like 5 to 7 loaves of zucchini bread. And then we'll just vacuum seal and freeze it. But look at that. Just about 3 pounds for that zucchini. Isn't that insane? So for anybody out there who's interested in the Back to Eden garden method, just go online, look up Back to Eden gardening, and watch the video. He seems like a very, very nice guy. He's very religious, but a lot of the things he does revolves around prayer and and faith, and which is nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. It's a wonderful thing to do. He's a interesting fella. So, but anyways, look up the video. And the other thing I might want to add is nothing in the garden. We have not put a synthetic fertilizer in our garden since that garden has been up here. And this has been, I think, going on year 5. No synthetic chemicals, no synthetic bug killers, nothing is synthetic. Everything is natural. We are using the blood and the bone meal to help counteract the nitrogen deficiency in the soil for the plants. And I'm also doing a compost tea, which later today I'll probably put the compost tea on there. The compost tea does not have a lot of nitrogen, phosphorus, or potassium in it. It does have a little bit. It's probably a 0.5, 0.5, 0.5. It's that little. But my compost tea is mainly just to bring the acidophilus and the main beneficial bacteria to the garden, so that way it can help break down the material more, and also help add that good beneficial bacteria to the soil, so we're not getting a lot of fungus or anything like that. But anyways, I hope you've enjoyed this video. We'll probably have another one up soon, and stay tuned.